Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Turning Music into Money. I am your host, Double O. Today's episode features Miss Lisa Fager. Today's show is called Music Industry Secrets Part 2. But before we get into today's episode, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Miss Ruby of LegacyA100.com for blessing me with the platform of Turning Music into Money. Without her, none of this is possible. Thank you very much. If you're looking for contracts, if you're looking to get your trademark done or anything like that, please reach out to my good friend, Miss Nicole Turner. Nicole is spelled Necole. Book Nicole at innovativebutterfly.com. Definitely reach out to her. Also, if you're looking for my music, reach out to me on Pandora Radio. I have two different spellings of my name, D-U-B B-U-L-L-O-H, and also double O, D-O-U-B-L-E-O. Both of them are double O. Just spelled it differently because I learned the music business, and I figured I had to brand myself. So let me not bore you with all of this extra talk. Let me bring on Ms. Lisa Fager because she has been so kind to be my guest today. She is the director of public policy and operations at the Hip Hop Caucus. Ms. Lisa Fager, welcome back to the show again. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Lisa, can you tell me what it is that you do now, like exactly, and because you have interns, have you left the music business altogether?
I don't think I've ever really left the music business because I still deal with the same folks. And Industry Ears, which was my nonprofit, I can't say that I've done a lot with it lately because I've kind of got really tired of fighting the system. And they're fighting with millions of dollars, and that I'm not. And I've decided that there's going to be a different way for me to tackle the imbalance of music and hip hop on the radio. But what I do now is I kind of, mix all my loves together. And
Okay.
so, like I said, my passion is to uplift the Black community in whatever area. And I've worked in many policy areas between police reform, public health, HIV and AIDS, voting rights. Everything impacts us pretty badly. And so in doing that, here at the Hip Hop Caucus, we have a great campaign called Respect My Vote. And we first started that campaign in 2008 with T.I. when everybody was like, why would you have T.I.? He's on house arrest. Why would you have him talking about voting rights when he's, on house arrest? And he said the same thing, like, what's wrong with y'all? Reverend Yearwood, who's the CEO and founder of the organization, just had this vision that we really need to see more people like T.I. Talking about the importance of voting and why it would be important to them. And so he saw the importance, and but for a while he didn't think he could vote because he was on house arrest around this, but he had not been convicted. And so in the state of Georgia, if you have not been convicted yet, you can vote. And so he went around the country. They got him, signed off so he could travel to do this work and talk about how important, particularly people who were getting their rights restored, that's people who have been formerly incarcerated, and how important it was for them to get out to vote. And so he did that, and I think it's a great case study because if you take 2008 T.I. versus 2017 T.I., you can see the growth that he had. And I don't know, we never know, if we haven't interjected and just said, hey, brother, you good enough we really want you to talk to folks. People listen to you. And you got great, we're going to educate you on what's going on in the world and how these all connect the dots for you. And if you could share that message, that would be great. And he got it. And next thing you know, he's a family man doing reality TV and giving advice to his kids. And so I think it was all worth it. And so we've done that with 2 Chainz, who I thought was an awesome spokesperson in 2012, who really went hard talking to college kids and folks who have been formerly incarcerated about, how important it was to get your votes, your rights restored. and to vote. And so we work with Amber Rose and Keke Palmer and Vic Mensa and looking up here at the Amanda Seal. I mean, this is a whole bunch of people that have worked with us in various campaigns here at Hip Hop Caucus. And we use hip hop culture to engage people in the civic process and democratic process.
Perfect, perfect. Lisa, I want to know because you were instrumental in, I guess, fighting for stuff to be on the radio properly between the hours, I believe, 6 a.m. and 10, because it was it's not supposed to, it's supposed to be for children, something to that degree, correct? It's supposed to be safe for children to listen to the radio between those hours, correct?
Well, policy, the FCC states, the Federal Communications Commission, the policy or the rules are no sexually explicit content should be played between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. However, in our community, you hear a lot of sexually explicit content being played between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. The reason these hours are quoted is because these are the hours that children are less likely to be listening to the radio. And so if you want to talk about, what's the Whisper song say? Wait till you see my dick. If you want to say that and see that, that'd be great after 10 o'clock. Or skeet, skeet, skeet. If you know what that means, it'd be great to hear that after 10. I don't have no problem with all of that. But I don't want my kid or hear a little girl talking about getting some head. That's another song that folks were playing back in the day. And so I don't want to hear these songs. I don't want to hear sex with me is so amazing coming from from an 8-year-old. I just don't.
Exactly.
And most people agree to that, especially Black folks. And so it's interesting because what I was finding is white folks in corporate America and these corporations would say things like, well, that community, it's okay for them. And I'm like, oh yeah, no. So what happened is you, in order to make a complaint in radio, like you don't like what's being said, it could be something crazy about the DJ. What do? Our community, we call the radio station. I'm gonna tell you how I feel, right? But that's not the right way. The right way is to call this third party, which is the FCC, and complain. So for years, I worked with Dr. Jared Ball. He's at Morgan State right now, and he used to be at Maryland. And we would we would have students monitor the radio. And it was so funny because most of them never listened to the lyrics. So then after they did this project, most of them were saying, I can't even listen to the radio no more because now I know what they're really saying. Before I didn't know, and it was okay. But the problem is, even when you complain, they don't do anything. I remember them telling us, we went up to the FCC and they told us they had an urban radio dictionary to help translate what's being said on the radio. And that's not happening either, for real. And so it's sad because what they're saying is if we don't complain, that means it's okay. It's okay to be bitch, nigga, and hoe in your community, except when they were playing Kanye's song, what is it? What is that? The one where he talks about white men get rich or whatever, or get paid from all of that.
Oh, you talking about All Falls Down?
That's right. So MTV at the time was editing out the word white man. And so I contacted it and I was like, why are you editing word out? White man ain't like he's saying kill him, even though, you could say kill niggas all the time, but you ain't gonna be a problem. But saying that white men are getting paid off of exploiting Black people, apparently that's not allowed. And that's where the problem is. And so you can tell me about sexually explicit content's not allowed, but you make an effort to zone out white man in a song. And this is where I just started really getting angry, and because you see, I mean, even now we're talking about all this sexual harassment stuff. Well, hip hop is a predator. I mean, good Lord, can you turn on any song on the radio right now and it's not telling you to have sex or some type of violent sex or rough sex? And how do you? And my message 10 years ago was, how does this impact our girls and our boys in treating each other away? When people are talking about, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna ejaculate in your face, skeet, skeet, skeet. What does
Yeah.
that do to our young people? And we're talking about all these predators. I'm like, well, we're getting every predator on the radio every day, and yet you're not protecting my daughter or my son. Him thinking of, how are they thinking of themselves? Because I don't know, Bakari also, I talked about Bakari Kitwana, who wrote the book, The Hip Hop Generation. He also wrote a book
Mm-hmm.
called Why White Kids Love Hip Hop. Again, Bakari was the former editor of The Source during the golden age of hip hop. And so
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that he found out as a researcher is that white people, when they hear black people talking about bitches and hoes, well, that just means black women. And so we don't care. It's not, they ain't talking about white women, so screw them. And so this is where a problem is. I'm like, somebody needs to take, care about us black women. And so it led me to my fight. You get me all riled up talking about it again. Um, uh, and so one of the, it's such a huge problem. And I used to just agitate the radio stations, but it gets tiring because they're millionaire, billion-dollar businesses at this point. And we really just
Mm-hmm.
got to teach our kids to be smarter, and adults. I can barely
That's
listen to
right.
the radio. I cannot stand to listen to the radio with my 10-year-old in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's right. That's right. Now let me ask you, how many songs were you successfully able to get pulled off the radio?
Wow, I never really counted. And so it wasn't just radio, and it wasn't that I was actually trying to get songs pulled off the radio. I just wanted them to adhere to the rules because white kids and white radio, or even, I guess we don't call it white radio, but rock or pop, they were not getting the same imbalance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I believe music can hit you in the head, you can be conscious, and it can hit you in your body. I like to dance. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, we get way too many body blows,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I was thinking. If we could have a balance, then it wouldn't seem as bad. You turn on pop radio, and they talking about sunshine, and they have all this, but we always darkest
Mm-hmm.
day, screwing. You got 10 women, you got 4 men. I don't know. It just doesn't seem, and I don't think that it's a reflection of our community because we have a very conservative community. So it's such a imbalance in the wrong message that we're
Mm-hmm.
sending to our young people, especially like how to treat a woman. It's so much. We look at our
Mm-hmm.
HIV rates. We can see what's problem. You
Mm-hmm.
know, everybody else's HIV rates, and so nobody's connecting the dots. Everybody else's HIV rates have gone down, but we're black
Mm-hmm.
people. Boys, 13 to 29 skyrocketed. Ain't never been plateau ever in these 30 plus years of AIDS. Okay? All of them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, black males, young males starting at the age of 13 are still, right now the stat is 1 out of 17 black males will have HIV in their lifetime. And 1 in 32 black women will have HIV in their lifetime. Meanwhile, 1 out of 117 white men will have HIV in their lifetime. And with white women, 1 out of 517. One
Whoa.
out of 517 versus 1 out of 17. So what's the problem? What are we doing to fix that? The messages
Right.
aren't helping.
You're exactly right. And speaking of the messages, I watched the video where you had an issue because Walmart was displaying obscene imaging
Mm-hmm.
on a CD, and you successfully got that taken out of the store, correct?
Yes, we did.
Now, I did not know Walmart had a record label.
They do. They
They
press
still
their
have a
own
record
record.
label?
I'll have to check, but probably so, because there's a lot of folks that have these labels where they just do like collections of music. And so this
Hmm.
particular CD was called Big Booty Hits, and then they
Yeah.
have Bigger Booty Hits. And the
Yep.
problem was the imagery on the CD cover was
Uh huh.
of a black woman's
Hmm.
ass, but just the back of her. No, she didn't have no arms. She had her arms cut off, her legs cut off, and it was basically
Mm-hmm.
her backside. And this is what
Mm-hmm.
met you at the checkout counter.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, this is right after they had this big problem with the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus had written letters to them because when you would search in the search engine on their website for Black movies, because you know how we do,
Mm-hmm.
we want to see our own stuff, the first movie to come up was Planet of the Apes.
Mm.
Literally, this is 3 weeks after they went through this huge blow up with Black leadership.
Mm.
And they were like freaking out when we found this and had the nerve to have two like big booty hits and bigger booty hits. And I remember contacting the then lobbyist, because here I am in DC. I know the lobbyist. I contacted, happened to be a Black woman at the time. She was in such
Mm-hmm.
disbelief that this, like everybody didn't have this CD. Come to find
Mm-hmm.
out it was just them. Then she was even more embarrassed. And she really went to work. And one of the sad things, thank God she don't work there anymore, but one of the sadder things is that the head person that she had to convince that this was a bad thing couldn't understand why it was so bad.
Mm.
And so,
Mm.
but within a week, it was gone from 3,000 stores.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. So
That's
all it
that's
did was
that's
paint
impressive.
the
That's
images.
impressive.
I know, and I have this letter from them where they don't admit wrongdoing, but they
Mm-hmm.
talk about taking care of it. So,
Mm. What I want to know is when an artist is signed to a label. This is maybe some years back because a lot of artists get signed and they're shelved or they're not able to get a release date. When that actually happens to them, are they allowed to put out mixtapes? Are they allowed to go on tours? What are they allowed to do or not allowed to do?
I don't know a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've worked with artists who've had albums and they hold them and then they never come out. And I might
Mm-hmm.
even have some of them. I remember this one artist called G.O.Y, and she
Mm-hmm.
never came out. And there was such buzz about G.O.Y. Um, uh, and it never came out. And I think I
Mm-hmm.
have it somewhere. And I'm like, man, it was such a good album. Um, and it's sad because at that time they're under contract and usually they can't do anything. They usually have to get a release to do anything. Now, when the mixtape tape vibe came, a lot of record companies recognized that that was a promotional marketing tool, and so
Mm-hmm.
they don't really trip off of that because it's also music not being sold. It's usually free, so there hasn't been a lot of problems with that
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, and even now, I bet there's probably not any problems because again, it's a way to sell music later on as
Mm-hmm.
a tool.
Perfect. How was the Hip Hop Caucus formed?
So the Hip Hop Caucus was formed in 2004 after the 2004 election.
Okay.
Well, going into the 2004 election, it is Reverend Yearwood and actually back in the day, we worked together and uh, there were several organizations, Vote or Die, which Puffy had, Jay-Z had, uh, what is it? Citizen Change. Citizen Change is Puffy. JC had Choose It or Lose It or something like that. I can't even remember. And then Russell had Hip Hop Action Network. And so we did the voter mobilization for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like the behind the scenes ground team. And so after that was done, it was like, well, what are we going to do with all these great young people that are active? And so we ended up forming the Hip Hop Caucus. But the Hip Hop Caucus originally was an event at Howard University because we wanted to be at the Congressional Black Caucus's conference, and they said no.
Okay.
They weren't ready for hip hop in 2004 at the Congressional Black Caucus
Mm-hmm.
annual legislative conference. And so we were like, well, we're going to go up the street to Howard and we're going to have it in the Crampton Auditorium, which is like, their big auditorium arena. And we had
Mm-hmm.
800 students in there on a Saturday night from 8 to 10 and literally had to turn the lights out for them to leave. And we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
any huge stars. Well, at the time, actually, Raheem Devon was there, and he wasn't signed to a label, but he's from DC, and he was there. And all we did was have young Black leadership who were trying to get out the vote, have a conversation, and young people there. And it was awesome. And so it basically went from there. We saw the what was needed, and then and I haven't been with the organization since 2004, but off and on. I'm, very good friends with Reverend Yearwood and do whatever, whatever he needs. I've been, consulting for 16 years since I left the entertainment industry. So.
Are you trying to make a comeback into the music industry?
Well, it's interesting because I usually get a call here and there to do stuff. Like I was doing some stuff with Def Jam because they wanted to do some outreach around starting like a program around. This is actually just when Jay-Z had started at Def Jam, and this was to help young people think of careers in the music industry other than making the music as an artist. Like understanding that you could. Ooh, my phone's about to die. That you can make money. I know. You can make money anyway in the music industry, from accounting to writing to all kinds of different things. And you didn't have to literally be the artist. And quite frankly, there's a lot of people that make more money than the artists that work around the artist. So.
Perfect. So listen, I have to wrap it up because I know your phone is getting ready to die and I don't want to lose anything. So what I want to do is actually, if you have anything you want to say, please feel free to say it, like anybody contacts you anyway.
Well, I love music. And so I'm just excited that people have figured out how to make music without being with the corporate people. And have showed and use platforms to play their music and to disseminate their music. So I feel like music is going in a great direction. I wouldn't turn to radio anymore to listen to music. And so a lot of times I don't even know who I'm listening to because I love to just put on some of those stations on the streaming stuff and listen to people. And I like to listen to stuff that people send me, like local people. We have an intern here. I think she's awesome. She's, she's from Boston. Her name is Kiki D, if she's listening.
Okay.
And so I really try to, like I say, support our folks. And we have a lot of artists that work with Hip Hop Caucus, so.
Perfect. Lisa, I would like to thank you so much because if it wasn't for you saying what you said, I would have not been able to come up with an aggressive plan to market my music as well. So I just thank you for saying what you said because it was very impactful to me. Want to let you know, keep doing what you're doing. It's very impactful. And I'm just excited to start our friendship.
Yes. We'll definitely stay in touch. I'm always here.
Perfect. Lisa, thank you so much for being a guest on Turningmusicintomoney. I gratefully appreciate you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, we just had Miss Lisa Fager, the Director of Public Policy at the Hip Hop Caucus. She is incredible. Like I said, I just signed to Tight to Death Records, and you can definitely check out all my music on Pandora Radio. I am actually having technical difficulties on the visual side of things, but on the audio, we can't tell a thing. But I would like to thank you for tuning in to Turning Music into Money, where we learn some music industry secrets. We will definitely have Miss Lisa Fager back on, and we won't have all these difficulties, and everything will be great. So thank you for tuning in. Gratefully appreciate you guys. Peace. See you next week.